gentlemen. Welcome back to episode 2 of Rebels in Flux. My name is Chris Neto. I am the host, joined again by Mr. Juan Chavez, the channel manager from DTEN. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you for having me, Chris, again.
Hey, you know what? We just sit around, have good conversation. Next thing you know, I'm just going to keep hitting record. Right? So one of the things that I actually got to experience at Infocomm was a good conversation with Juan. Again, I go see Juan. Juan shows me some new products, knows I'm working for one of his distributors. Juan shows up at my booth, asks me questions about podcast movement, the podcast thing that I'm doing. And, one thing leads to another. Here you are. See, that's how on a podcast. But let's take a step back and rewind back to Infocomm, because it's July and there's still people talking about Infocomm. So why not, right? How was your Infocomm? This was your first Infocomm. What did you think? Before I ask you the question of how was D10's Infocomm, what was your expectations walking into Infocomm, and were they realized? Like, were you in awe of a show like that? Or was it the first time you've ever been to a show like that? I just want to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, the funny thing is, I was describing Infocomm to all my friends as kind of like Comic Con, but for tech companies. And so I kind of expected to go in there and, it be similar to Comic Con. But then when I went in there, and I think I was there like the day after setup, and I was just amazed at the amount of vendors, the amount of manpower, as far as like the amount of cranes you were seeing and stuff being moved around. It was crazy to see. I never thought they could fit that many booths into one building. So yeah, it was an amazing experience. It was my first one, and so nothing but positive things to say about Orlando and the Orange County Convention Center.
I love coming across people that are awestruck about something like this, and I'm kind of a veteran now at this point of going to these trade shows, not only working in booths. So I've been in situation where you're basically, in your case, you were held within a 20 by 20 green carpet, and that's where you stayed. And for me, last year, I was stuck in a booth with red carpet, and I couldn't really go anywhere and, see the different things. But my nerdy side of me, it wants to go and explore. It's funny, you mentioned Comic-Con. Are you a comic guy?
I love anime. As you can see, I'm a big Yoshi guy. So yes, I love me some anime. Yes.
So instead of going into the set of questions I have, I got to go into this question. I've gone to comic expos and stuff like that. A lot of the times, as a tech person, every show seems to be the same. It seems to be repetitive, same style this, same style that. And Infocomm, a couple years ago, changed its name to Avixa, and then Infocomm, the show, became this idea where they want to become more experiential. So to stay within our little, industry, and I'll say little because there's so many more industries out there that do types of shows. One of the places I went to is the comic book conventions to take a look. I have a buddy of mine, Bill O'Donnell, who frequents these shows. As a matter of fact, now I think he's actually doing more comic book shows than he does tech shows. It's funny. But the comic book shows was a great place to see fans, right? To develop fans and to develop a fan base is a very interesting thing and a very interesting concept, because these are the people that will sleep outside a comic book store for the latest release of this, right? We don't have that in AV. So that to me is very foreign and very, very cool. I wanted to better understand that. And going to a comic book show shows me where, it's not so much a marketing thing, but it's now, where these guys have really done their homework in building a fan base, right?
Right.
And what lures and what attracts people to these shows. So you were going because you were a fan of a particular comic or style or artist. Tell me more, because now you got my interest there.
Yes, I actually like to go to costumes, because I love seeing how much details people put into their costume. So, you go there and, I'm a big Dragon Ball Z guy, huge Pokemon guy, Yu-Gi-Oh, just Power Rangers. And so, I gotta admit, to this day, walking in and seeing all the Rangers lined up, it brings back, back memories when I used to run home from 7th grade screaming at my mom, we got to hurry up so we don't miss Power Rangers at 2:30. So, yes.
There you go. I think we're getting a first confession of an 80 person that anime, Power Rangers, Yu-Gi-Oh, and all this sort of, wow, that's interesting. That is super interesting. And if you didn't know that about Juan, you do now. So that is cool, man. That's a different thing. And you're right. You know, you have that rabid fan base, and have now do, you know, for me in my professional, in my work, how do I build that? And as a, you know, market manager, that's part of my gig, is like, how do we uncover these, you know, attraction to the technologies and making them must-haves, and working with manufacturers such as DTEN, and how do we make this become a thing? But anyway, I'm happy that you had a great experience. I love the fact that you just dropped the bomb and went total anime on us. I couldn't ask for that. That's podcast gold right there, man. If you start getting like little memes sent to you, or little gifs of Yoshi or something, please let me know, man. That's so cosplayers, you know where to go. Anyway, so now back to Infocomm. We're past the whole cosplay. Don't cosplay as a D10 next year. That'd be kind of weird. But anyway, so tell me, how was your booth at Infocomm? I came by and visited, but I wasn't there the whole time. What was the energy like? What were the questions like? Who were the people? Tell me more about Infocomm 2019 for D10.
Yeah, it was an amazing, from a D10 perspective, it was an amazing experience. It was actually the first time we've had our own booth. A lot of the times when we go to these shows, we're always kind of doing it with Zoom or another partner. So this was actually the first time we, were a standalone, for lack of better words, that it was our booth. It was an amazing and successful day. We debuted our 75-inch all-in-one solution coming later in October. And, you know, it was amazing. We had so many people that showed interest in that particular product, because the 75-inch is going to be a game changer for us. Overall, we had a lot of end users, a lot of resellers, and surprisingly, we saw a lot of demand as well from South America, which is kind of like a brand new market for us. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like we haven't even tapped into it, but overall, if I had to give it a grade, I would say A++. The team was amazing. It was an overall team effort, and I think anytime you go out there as a team and you bond with your team, and then the event is successful, I think that's the way you can categorize it as an A+.
That's awesome. You're actually not talking about one of the things that I saw at your booth that I'm surprised. Well, maybe to you it was just an overlooked thing, but for me it's kind of a big deal. You showed actually two 55 D7s next to each other working together. Excuse me. As an old school video conferencing or VTC guy, you know, that side by side video was a very important thing for the dual monitors. Dual monitors was content for people that obviously don't remember. It was people on one side, content on the other. In your case, near end, far end, or whiteboard in your far end. So you brought that. I had not seen that from D7 or D10 before. Is that correct? That was the first time? Or am I just new to this? Please enlighten me here.
Yeah, so that's called our D7 suite. What it is pretty much two 55-inch displays next to each other. One of them is the whiteboard. The other one is the share a content / participants. Or vice versa. You can actually decide which one you want to be the participants, which one you want to be the whiteboard / share content. So that product is already in the market. It might have been the first time you've seen it, but I know that it's been out for a few months already. And yes, the D7 Suite is an amazing product for people who don't want to necessarily limit the experience of collaboration to just one screen. So what a lot of people want is they want to be able to see the person they're talking to and still see the content they're sharing on. So it comes back to, what does collaboration mean? It means being able to see the person and still see their content all in the same time. So that's kind of one of our cool features we have. And yeah, the D7 Suite is definitely seeing some success out there in the marketplace right now.
That's awesome, because and the reason why I don't know about it is I've only been here 3 months. So in those 3 months where I'm familiarizing myself with that, it's been single monitors and pushing the single monitors. And for people that don't know, I work for Starin, and we do have the D7 product line in our line card. So I do work with the D7 and understand it. But now when I got to Infocomm and actually saw the side-by-side, it was not a question I even raised. I just thought people were putting 55s in small huddle spaces. But in this case, now it enables you to take it out to a much bigger space.
It does.
Yeah. And one of the things that is important, and part of the reason why I have you on here is because I want a little bit better in-depth knowledge of things. You're taking two 55-inch monitors, you're putting them in a collaborative space. Obviously, they're touch, right? One of the things that I find interesting about your product is that it is all-in-one. Just 1,000, and I've said it before, 1,000 all-in-ones. You add a mount to your box, so you don't need anything else other than set it and forget it. You guys are like the super all-in-one, I guess, if you're delivering the entire solution in a box, which is pretty cool. But one of the things that I have a hard time with these type of all-in-ones, and I stop myself short of saying whiteboards because you guys don't refer to yourselves as a whiteboard company. So what is hard for me to understand is audio on these boards. And you guys found a way to do it. Now you have a modular setup. We discussed that in episode 1 where you have the microphone with the cameras. But tell me more about the audio components of the D7.
Yeah, so the audio, so I'll give a little bit about our audio and obviously our speaker and microphone. So our microphone is a 16 mic array that's located on top of our sound bar, essentially, or our bar. It's also the camera, the 4K camera is embedded into that mic array. And so we have 16 of them. The closest competitor is at 8. So what that means is that we say about 30 feet, but we've actually tested it up to 50 feet where you can still hear perfectly fine beyond that 30 feet, anywhere between 30 to 50 feet. And so what that does, it allows you to really just put that display in any room you want, essentially, and it's still going to pick up people's voices very clear. And so that's actually one of our secrets here within our company is how good our mic bar is in picking up sounds. And the best part is there's DSP. So basically what that means is if there's any outside noises as well that are being picked up, the AI in our sound bar knows to cancel that out so that it turns into a perfect experience. And so I think that's one of our advantages, having 16 of them. The Nexus competitor, as I said earlier, has 8.
Yeah. A lot of people, a lot of times will focus when you're talking about these all-in-ones or boards in general or displays in general, focus heavy on the video. You know, the 4K, you got that. 4K camera, you got that. But when it comes to the audio, a lot of the bigger challenges surrounding other brands is how they're delivering audio. And some of them, you know, are just relying solely on external DSPs and microphones to help that. You guys went ahead and basically said, we're not going to run any wires to the table. We're just going to beef up our audio, which is really cool. And me personally, I think that's a great feature add and something that's not really talked about on the D7s. It's something that is not really talked about in whiteboards. You know, everybody wants to talk about touch points, you know, or the video display. You guys have this cool feature, and it's, you know, I'll say it more as a feature because, like I said, you guys don't go down the road of calling this a whiteboard. Tell me about the feature set of the whiteboard capability, because it's a feature to your Zoom appliance is basically the way I've best describe it. Because if you're going to tell me it's a great whiteboard, it does a very good job. But, you know, it is a serviceable whiteboard at the same time, but a very good video conferencing appliance for Zoom. So what are some cool features about the whiteboard, right?
So the coolest feature that we actually just added is the shape recognition. So now, obviously, the whiteboard itself it's designed to be basic from the perspective that we don't want people to go in there and have this whiteboard that is complicated to work or that is so sophisticated that It doesn't even really get the job done, essentially. So the important thing to realize about our whiteboard is that it's actually Zoom's whiteboard. So it's not even our whiteboard, it's actually Zoom's whiteboard. And so the coolest thing we just added together was the shape recognition. So what that does now is if you draw a sloppy triangle, a bad circle, it actually adjusts the shape to be perfect. And so what that does now, we're seeing engineering companies are loving this feature, because now when they're collaborating between different countries, they can actually have accurate 90-degree angles, accurate rectangles, and that stuff matters, especially when you're designing, whether it's a building or you're designing any kind of, just anything in general that requires shape drawing. It just makes your job easier in the sense that you can just draw a triangle and boom, it fixes it for you. Now you can move it around and do your thing with it as far as collaborating with somebody across the world.
Yeah, I love that you actually went into the depth of who actually, kind of uses that, because for me as a user, it was always very tough. I mean, whiteboards to me were digital chalkboards or digital marker boards, right? It was just for dueling ideas and grabbing stuff. And I get that concept, and your product does that very well. If that's what you need this board to do, it does it. Outside of the Zoom ecosystem, different story. It's not going to do it's not going to do all the bells and whistles if it's not sitting in that Zoom ecosystem. But, for the notes, for the quick, doodles, as some people will refer to it as the John Madden, skadoodles. Those are fine. You get your X's, you get your O's, and you run plays on it, whatever. And obviously for the cost, most of the time, as an observer of the technology that's been coming out, whiteboards were always these electronic whiteboards were always very costly. And it most always was based around the fact that a lot of it went into the touch and into the programs that go and deliver that, because people were overthinking it, right? And a lot of times all you really need to do is just replace the aging whiteboard that kept ghosting, or that you just wanted something that you could draw and take that drawing and take it with you, right? Because you're jotting down ideas. One of the things that I like about D7, and one of the first things I noticed, was that you guys don't save to USB, you save to an email, which from a security standpoint is something that I personally think is great, because there's nothing sitting there. And once it's out, it's gone. It doesn't sit on any memory. So that is kudos to you, man, because that's always a tough conversation when people want to talk about, well, how do I get it? And how do I, send it to yourself and then email it to the people. And there you have it. It's not sitting on the board, because especially in these corporations, these things are being moved around,
right?
Constant movement inside, and the schedules are constantly changing. You don't want to leave anything behind. So that's kind of cool, man. I thought that was pretty cool. So now I want to get to what I did last time. I got some weird questions.
Bring them on.
All right. Again, I'm going to go back to the fact that you are a traveling man, right? You're in Orlando, you're in California, you go to New York. We asked what your favorite city is the last time we spoke. What's your least favorite airport?
Least favorite airport? Honestly, I got to say Ronald Reagan so far.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You were going to say Newark, New Jersey.
No, I'll tell you why. So we were getting ready to take off. We're ready to go. We're on the runway, and we get stopped for 45 minutes because some VIP, they labeled it. So it might have been the president, it might have been the senator. They shut down the airport, and we're in the
You're at the mercy of the government?
Pretty much for 45 minutes. And so after that, I was like, yeah, this is not cool. Like, it's not even like a weather thing. It's just somebody wants to use the airspace. It's like, it's done. So I would say for that reason, I got to say Reagan.
Oh, all right. Well, I don't fly into Reagan just because of the shutdowns at weird times. And I know that as a traveler, I try to avoid that and go to Dulles, maybe a little further out, but at least I'm kind of moving in the right direction. Okay. Another traveling question. New York pizza versus the world. Where do you find better pizza?
New York. Come on.
So you're not one of those Chicago deep dish wacky pizza people. You enjoy the New York slice.
So I've tried deep dish, and I actually live in I lived in New York back in 2014 for about a year, upstate Albany to upstate, and I went to this place called Coronet, which is somewhere in Brooklyn. And after eating that slice of pizza, it ruined my life because now anywhere I go, I'm comparing it to that, and it's not fair because I just had the best of the best, and not everything else just a downgrade. So thank you, New York, for that.
Yeah, I have a strict allergy that pops up every time I leave this tri-state area. When it comes to pizza, I don't know what it is. I break out in hives and say no. I guess I got to take a Claritin before I go. All right. Last question of the weird questions. What is in your book bag right now?
What is in my book bag right now?
Yeah.
I would say the book that I'm reading right now is one called Predictable Revenue.
Nice.
And it's a great book. It's about Salesforce, and it's a way different way of looking at cold calling. So right now, Predictable Revenue is something that I have I read on the airplane to kind of help me become a better in sales and a better leader as well.
All right, one more question. Are you a person who requires noise canceling headphones on an airplane, or you can just go by and just zone out without anything on?
Oh yeah, I can. You sit me down anywhere, I'm passing out. So
from these interviews that I've had with you, I really couldn't tell that you actually can settle down. You're like all squirrely and stuff, man.
That's just the excitement.
Too much energy. Do you pull the plug, or do you charge on a plane? What's Juan's secret to chill?
I get my hoodie over my head, close it. That's the secret.
That is awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on and giving us another, bit of information about yourself and about DTEN. Thank you. Where can we find more information about DTEN?
Yeah, if you want to find more information about DTEN, please visit our website, www.dten, that's DTEN.com, or you can go to our distributor's website, www.sterin, S-T-R,
You lost the spelling. The spelling being right.
STARIN.biz. Okay. I get one mess up. That was mine.
Oh, man. They're sponsoring the show. You got to do something good there, but I appreciate it.
That was just a total Yahoo.
Well, you know what? I appreciate you coming on. My name's Chris Netto. I am the host of Rebels and Flux, this wacky new show that we put together. This is episode 2. Juan has come on from the company called DTEN. He does things with video conferencing boards that they don't call whiteboards, but they really do some cool stuff, especially within that Zoom ecosystem. Again, my name's Chris Netto. You can find me on Twitter at Chris_Netto. This has been an episode of Rebel and Flux.